All right, hello everyone. Thank you for joining the virtual meetup. On today's agenda, we will discuss the new park infrastructure management solution. We are recording this meetup and we'll be posting the recording on YouTube. Later in the meetup, we will have several sections for questions. If you would like to submit questions, you can use the Q&A option at the bottom of your Zoom window. That said, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Chris and Matt to get us started.
Thanks, Jer. My name is Chris Pascalia, along with my colleague Matt Bullock. We'd like to introduce Esri's new park infrastructure management solution. But first, I'd like to introduce ArcGIS solutions to those who may not be familiar with them. ArcGIS includes a series of solutions that align with your business needs, transform your use of ArcGIS, and help you maximize the investment you're making in location-based data and technology. These industry-specific configurations are designed to improve operations, provide new insight, and enhance services. ArcGIS solutions come with your ArcGIS software and are fully supported. Parks improve quality of life, protect natural resources, and enhance local economies. The first and most critical step park agencies must take is to create a park asset inventory. A park agency cannot plan park improvements, maintain existing assets, and ensure guest safety unless they know what assets they have, where they are, and what condition they're in. So today, I'm going to introduce Park Infrastructure Management. The ArcGIS solution delivers a set of capabilities that help parks and conservation agencies inventory park assets, understand asset condition, and communicate changing conditions that impact park services. To create the Park Infrastructure Management solution, Esri worked closely with existing users to understand the challenges that they were facing. As we developed the solution, we heard several common themes. Parks are increasingly burdened with overuse. This increased use has been great for park agencies that charge permit or user fees, but also has driven new maintenance requirements and levels of service. Changing asset conditions that impact park services. A park agency cannot plan park improvements, maintain existing assets, and ensure guest safety unless they know what assets they have, where they are, and what condition they're in. Many park asset inventories are out of date and paper-based or even in tabular systems. One way to improve this is to mainstream the utility of GIS to assist with asset management. And finally, parks many times are the first agency to receive funding cuts, and they need to understand the current condition of assets and make smart infrastructure investments. So to overcome these challenges, park infrastructure management includes a series of capabilities that are tailored to the needs of park agencies, and they're used to streamline the creation of maintenance of park assets, efficiently assess park asset condition, and improve overall organizational performance. Park infrastructure management includes a collection of focus maps and apps that are designed to work together as a comprehensive system for your organization. Park asset inventories are out of date, still on hard copy maps or in tabular systems. You can streamline the creation and maintenance of park asset inventories with a series of apps that help you develop a park asset inventory and communicate recreation closures so you can more accurately represent your asset inventory. As that inventory evolves, you can efficiently assess park asset conditions with an app that helps you solicit service requests from park staff and the public so you can tackle small problems before they become too big and costly. An app that helps you manage service requests so that you can resolve them in a timely manner and they won't impact public confidence in park services. And a series of apps that help you manage routine and ad hoc work assignments, conduct inspections, and document recreation closures so you can regularly assess asset condition and communicate those closures that impact park services. And finally, as you start to understand park condition and requests for services, you can improve performance with an app that helps you monitor service requests so you can communicate organizational performance and use this information to plan future park improvements. So now I'm going to pass it on to Matt. He'll show you the new park infrastructure management solution. So Matt, take it away.
Thanks, Chris. All right, so we're in the kind of the demos we want to show today. We'll walk through what a park ranger would do out in the field and some of the duties that I would do as a park ranger. And then we'll move kind of back in the office and look at some of those, the kind of the web-based workflows and kind of internally back at the office. So we'll start with, in this case, I'm going to assume the role of a field ranger or a park ranger in a park agency. And I'm asked to use the ArcGIS Field Maps mobile app to access my park field map. And so in many cases, a field assessment of existing park assets may be the most efficient way to develop a park asset inventory. And the information collected in the field can then be augmented with other descriptive information that helps park staff or the general public view information easily. And so my first task today is to go ahead and we're going to be collecting a new restroom that we put into this campground here. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of zoom in to the location. And I'm going to say collect here. And then I'm presented with a variety of feature templates. So think of it as various park assets that I have. I can go through and kind of add we've built these nice vector graphics and these feature templates that allow you to kind of fully populate your park map. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and just search for restroom. And I'm going to kind of just swipe up here. And then the first thing I need to do is just give this a name. And this is the Acorn Loop restroom. This is in Susquehanna State Park. And then down here, this is a brand new asset we just put in. So this is in very good condition. We own and maintain this asset. And then that's about it I have to do for this. If I wanted to go in and maybe add a photo, I could take a photo here and attach other related documents, just kind of to have it associated in attachments with those assets. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and just submit this over. And so just like that, we've collected a new asset. We have the new information tied to it. That's going to be pushed back to our internal system. And so next I need to go and do a nearby, a maintenance activity on a nearby trail. So if we kind of zoom out a little bit, I'm going to go and select this. This is the Deer Creek Trail, just north of where I am. And right away, I get a nice pop-up of all the associated information about this trail asset. So give me the high-level information. What are the activities associated with this trail? Kind of the condition and other information that you can see here, and then kind of the other status information we talked about. In this case, I want to go ahead and click in this related section. I'm going to click a trails maintenance table here, and I can see other maintenance activities that have happened for this particular trail. But I'm going to go ahead and add a new activity. And so this case, it was a cleanup. We'll say a walking cleanup, actually. And this is currently in progress. I've not finished it. If I was complete here, I could put the finished notes, add some, I can take photos, add notes to this, just like I could for the other asset, and then we'll submit that out. So we've done, we're going through this really fast, but I can do a maintenance activity very quickly on my phone, related table. That's now, so for that trail information, I have a related maintenance table. That's all being captured there. And next, I want to kind of, the next job that I have to do while I'm out in the field is go through and kind of actually look at an additional trail to the east of me. And I need to go and do an inspection. And so this is the same trail, but a different part, the same name of trail, but different part of it. And so in this case, I'm going to go ahead and collect an inspection. So just like we saw with our maintenance table, we have a related inspection table. And so this looks fair. It was, I did a walking inspection, but I did notice there was some maintenance activity that needs to happen on this particular trail. And then we'll choose today as our today's date, take a photo, submit that out. And so now I've collected, did an inventory on some park assets. I can do maintenance activities. We did an inspection. But now I'm actually going to go back to the trail that we just looked at. And since I saw that there was some maintenance activity that needs to happen, as a park ranger, I can also go and create a service request that for so whether that's associated with a particular asset, or maybe I see some trash on the road, some roadkill, particular asset's broken, I can go in and actually create a service request. And so this opens up Survey 123 on my mobile device for me. I can go and pick, there's a variety of types here. So we'll actually go and say, this is we're going to say other. So because it's going to be a maintenance activity. Captures my information. It's collecting all of my contact information because I'm already signed in. I'm with my identity through the park agency. I can attach photos, submit that out. And so this is going to create a new service request that folks in the office could then take action upon. And so you'll notice kind of in my activity that we did, if I just go back to my field map here, just kind of talk through this. So we did a lot of ad hoc components to it. There is a ArcGIS workforce component as well. So I can do ad hoc inspections and maintenance activities like we did, or I can have a campaign associated where someone in the office, the maintenance operator, can be using ArcGIS workforce, assign activities, select a bunch of assets, and then push those out to me as well. But that is something as a park ranger that I have access to as well. So with that being said, before I move back into let's say we're going back as a kind of a maintenance worker in the office to do some web activities. Chris and Jay, were there any questions that came in during that time?
No, not yet. You're good.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open up my web browser here. And so now I'm going to go assume the role of a maintenance supervisor responsible for organizing routine and ad hoc inspections and maintenance activities. So in this workflow, I'm asked to monitor field activities and conditions coming in from those assets, manage requests for a service, and assign work. And so in this particular workflow, we'll start in the Park Request Manager. So this allows me to look at all of those service requests, whether they're coming in. I showed you as a park ranger, I submitted a request, and I had a long list of different types of service requests that's there, fully configurable on that component of it. I also can submit, we also can receive service requests coming from the public as well. They have a very similar form that you can then enable in your website and other places to have input coming from the public. So in this case, we can look at all of the service requests coming in for park related issues. So we'll go ahead and I'm just going to kind of refresh this and we'll get the new one that just came in here. And in this case, we're going to go through and do some filtering and kind of reorder the list here. So I want to look at just show me the components that were submitted. So we'll go ahead and show me the most recent, and then go ahead and also show me only ones that have been submitted. And we can take a look here. And I can go ahead and look through this information, kind of do a nice review. If I want to go and say this has been received, or if I wanted to push it to in progress, I could. We'll say this is now received. And I'm going to assign this to park maintenance. And then we're going to go ahead and save this. And what I can do here as well is, just realized I had that filter on submitted. Just want to give you an idea here. So I can also go ahead and create a park assignment. So this is going to open up a Survey 123 form that allows me to, it's tied into the ArcGIS workforce configuration that comes with park infrastructure management. So I can say, we're going to do an inventory inspection and submit this out. And so now we actually are going to create a new assignment within this. So the service request came in, I can create my assignment. That's now going to show up and I can push out an inspection or maintenance activity on that particular service request. So let's go ahead. I'm going to kind of move to a new role, and we're going to now assume the role of a mapping technician in a park agency. In this particular workflow, or sorry, I'm actually moving ahead. I need to show the dashboard. My apologies. So back as a maintenance supervisor, I have all of those same type of request information we have here. What I want to do is I can go through and filter. These are all active charts. So I can say, just show me the things that are in progress, or just show me submitted components, and you can kind of aggregate those together if you want. So I can filter through this. I can just show me whether that's an employee, so the kind of, is it employee submitted or some coming from the public, and I can also filter on submission date. And then you get a nice pop-up, very similar to what we saw in the Park Request Manager. And so through that workflow, I can have this concept of, so I'm maintaining, like actively maintaining and managing our service requests coming in, but then also viewing them from a larger status, like how are we responding? Are we doing well on that? And kind of keeping that feedback loop into service requests going through. And so that's maintenance supervisor. Now I want to kind of move over to this concept of a mapping technician. So we saw this, a park ranger collecting data in the field. And couple as a mapping technician or someone that's going to be editing and maintaining data back in the office, I need to have a couple kind of couple tasks today that I need to do. And so first one is I need to be able to review the restroom that was collected in the, from our review data coming from our park rangers. So in this case, we're looking at our restroom. And then I'm also going to go in and add a new asset. And this can be, this is very important, especially existing park assets collected in the field can be reviewed and information added. So I can review information from our park rangers, add other things like asset ID and asset information, review that out. So let's go ahead, and what I want to do is just show me the amenities that need to be reviewed. And that's going to kind of refine. So anything that's showing on the map for these park amenities will be reviewed. Those are the ones that I need to actively review. And so we're going to go ahead and look at this restroom. And you'll notice right away that my asset ID isn't populated. So I do need to go ahead and populate that asset ID. All of the other associated information looks correct. We're going to go ahead and open this. So this status is now going to show open. So on the pop-up in a park locator and trail locator, like all the recreation locators that we'll talk about that come with the other kind of accompanying solution, recreation outreach, that information will show up to the public there. I have reviewed this. Everything else looks good. And this publicly visible. So this is going to be, so status managed the information within the pop-up of an asset, but you'll see this a little bit later in the demos. And then publicly visible is going to tell me, is this showing up in our public information maps or not? So I can actually take information off our map by using this field here. So I'm going to say this is publicly visible, everything else looks good, and we're updating that. So we've done a quick review of field related information coming from our park rangers. And now I want to just kind of north of here, I want to add a new trail. And so I'm going to go ahead and we'll just turn off our fields here. And I'm going to go, I'm presented with that nice list again of all of these feature templates that I have for different park assets. But we're going to say, look, show me the trails. And I'll kind of start, this is a connection trail. So I'm going to start here. And then a little tip, so I'm using the F button on my keyboard, and I can actually drop a vertice each time, or vertex every time I'm clicking that button. So we finished that out. I'm going to go ahead and quickly add some asset information. This is a connection trail. We'll add the state park name. This is part of the same, we're calling it via the park name. So I'm going to go ahead and open this because this is the new inventory. This is not a seasonal. And then you'll notice a variety of information around different information about the trail, activity information. And so all of these are kind of tied into like a yes, no. So are these activities available for, in this case, for a trail? And so I just want to highlight a few activities that you can do on this particular trail. So you can hike. You can bring a cycle and a mountain bike. There is no e-bike access or equestrian. And then I'm going to say dogs are allowed on here. And so for the rest, I'm just kind of look through. This is a native surface type. There is no interpretational display or interpretive display. So, and then it's publicly visible. So we're ready to go. We've now added a brand new trail to our inventory just in a matter of minutes. So as a mapping technician, I'm able to, in a very streamlined web editing experience, I can go in and complete my job relatively straightforward. So that's kind of from the field editing perspective, you'll use the park asset inventory. And so next, I'm going to be assuming the role of a public information officer. And so let me go and share. Here we go. So using the Recreation Closure Manager app, as a public information officer at a park agency, I can communicate the status of our recreation closures. update associated asset information for that. And so this is really important in particular when I want to share information out to the public, especially as we are faced with increased usages. So we, during the COVID pandemic, we saw a lot of folks that wanted to go out and engage in new recreation activities, which is amazing and awesome. But we also had reducing resources via staffing or other components. So as a public information officer, I want to be able to make sure we're kind of serving our constituents and giving them the right information about the available access within our parks. And so right away, I'm presented with a nice map. I can create a new closure. And so we're going to go ahead and select this closure template here. And this is a particular maintenance closure we're going to do just around these particular campsites here. So I'm going to go ahead and select and kind of border around those, all of the associated, so whether that's cabins or playground, we have some restrooms in there, campsites. And so this is a maintenance closure. And then within this, I'm given a variety of types. So I can say, is this a full or partial closure, temporary closure? Like, what is different types of closures? This is a temporary closure. And then the reason, there's a variety of ways I can do this. So in this case, we're doing a renovation. But I can also, if it's a weather-related event, maybe a large storm came through, we had a wildfire, and we need to close part of the park, or we're just doing general maintenance activities. So that's kind of a variety of things we can do. So we're going to say a renovation. This is closed from this fall to next spring. And this comment field is what's going to allow me to show up in my label on the map. And if I wanted to add attachments or other kind of diagrams or maps that I have there, I do that as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and save that. We now have a new recreation closure. And then using the update public status widget, this is going to give me kind of ability to select, like bulk select a variety of park assets. So I'm going to go ahead and click this selection tool here. And I'm going to go and select all of the associated assets that are within this closure. And then it's going to give me a pop-up that allows me to bulk update the status field from open, and I'm going to switch it in this case to closed. And so all of this, so the recreation closure, as well as all of the kind of the symbology of that information will be pushed out to our recreation locators so publics can engage in that and kind of really get the most up-to-date information. And so I'm going to move finally, I'm going to move over to a member of the public, and we're going to look at, in particular, we're going to look at a couple locator maps that'll give us, and I've kind of sized my browser down. I wanted to give you an idea. These are very mobile friendly ArcGIS instant apps that we've configured within the park infrastructure management solution. So in this case, first off, I have the ability to look at a park locator. And so I'm going to go ahead and I can search by an address. Maybe I want to just click near me on my device. I can search for an address or a zip code, place, things like that. In this case, I'm going to kind of just use the map to drive. So I know kind of I want to go, I'm in this general northeast part of the state, and I'm going to say search this area. And so I'm presented with a variety, like a really nice pop-up of a variety of parks that give me a high-level overview of what are the types of activities happening, what's the contact information. If I wanted to make a reservation, I can click that and just go right to the reservation site of the park. And I can also view all of the information, kind of how to get there, what is the contact info, and then kind of get a nice amenities and description of that. So really a lot of info just available to me right away in the pop-up itself. But me as a map-centric person, I want to go and also look at the park and what's associated within it. These assets will start kind of popping up on the map here, and I get an idea of like, so that whole area is closed. And I can actually click and look at this. This is what's that closure information, what's the associated information here. So all of that's there for my viewing. And then kind of I wanted to show you, so that's like as a park locator, I can look at different park activities and components. But part of the recreation outreach solution which also was updated in this fall release, in addition to park infrastructure management. Think of them as working side by side. Park infrastructure management handling the internal workflows, recreation outreach, kind of presenting that information to the users that work with your agency. And so similar experience for Trail Locator. Just want to give you a look and feel, kind of a sneak peek on these. These are just released as well. So very mobile friendly. We're using vector graphics in here. I can get the same type of, you'll notice that same recreation closure is showing up for this trail as well. So we're showing trails in a park here, but this could also be trails in any type of scenario. So maybe if it's not just a park agency, right? So that's something that recreation outreach expands upon as well. So we have park locator, trail locator, but also things like fishing and boating and hunting activities as well. But the nice thing about the recreation closure layer that we've updated in that recreation closure manager is it shows up in all of the locators. So if we wanted to assign certain types of recreation closures to certain areas, not just a park in particular, you have that ability as well. So it is going to populate through all the apps and they all work together. All right, Jared and Chris, are there any questions?
Yeah, there's one from Gregory. Asked back about the inventory app. He asked, can you have multiple lines or polygons for one asset? Gregory, maybe if you could just expand a little bit more, maybe give a use case that might be interesting too.
Okay. So you can, so I guess it would be more like that's a function of like data component. So was it, I have to like hear a little bit more to understand. So you essentially would be creating your data as a per feature, right? And then you can, so that's, I guess I'm maybe not quite understanding that full question.
Yeah, he just replied, so if one trail has more than one section and they are not connected physically.
Great point. So that would be some of the, we might have to look into that a little bit. I think from trails in particular and ArcGIS Online, which is where this is deployed to, I don't think you can have multi-segment components, but there are ways to visualize that trail and edit it and manage it that would kind of get around some of those needs. Yeah, if that makes sense.
That's all for now. And just a reminder, feel free to type in questions in the Q&A box at any time.
All right. So that's kind of I wanted to go through, we've shown me as a park ranger, we've done the field activities. We've hit kind of the various web side of it if I'm back in the office in the park. So with that being said, unless there's any other questions, we can just kind of go back, move back over the slides.
There's one more question that just came in. Yeah. Is it correct to say that all drop-down menus and data sets can be modified to meet local preference?
Absolutely. So in kind of paraphrasing that, so let's just go ahead and click on we'll click on a layer to give you an idea. So within these are deployed within your ArcGIS organization, and you get a variety of the maps that we're looking at, or sorry, the maps that serve within that, and then the layers is what's visualized on the map. So within those layers, you have this ability to, we provided a nice kind of, think of them as a default schema. These are production ready to go solutions and the schemas. But if you need to adjust those and maybe add a layer, add a field, remove a field, change things within your attribute lists, those are all totally configurable directly within the items themselves in ArcGIS. So when you deploy the solution, and then we actually have quite a bit of documentation for, let me just give you an idea. So we just released this. This is our new the documentation site for park for all of ArcGIS solutions. So in this case for park infrastructure management, I can use this configure topic, and it'll actually go through like how do you update request types, how do you administer and manage your field assignment. So we do have help documentation that should help from the configuration perspective.
There are another couple of questions that rolled in.
Yeah.
Gregory has another one. Will users have the ability to track work and cost against assets?
So that's something. So we can certainly track work happening. the cost component, and I would call this this is not a, and Chris, if you have more info here, I think of this as not the getting into a full asset management. That's where that cost and the components and the labor and like those things you wouldn't be tracking within this particular solution, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we can talk more about that offline too, Matt, if we want to follow up the conversation after the meetup about exactly what you may need there. Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, we are not assigning costs or labor to those assets. Yep.
Another one, Matt, maybe can you explain how asset input could be done from aerial photos? So if someone has their own aerial photography here.
That's a great point. So I think the way, so I'm obviously showing a map that's not aerial imagery. And if you had your own aerial imagery, you would just update your map. In this case, where this is like the Esri World imagery service that's just pulling into the web map. But if you had your own, all you would need to do would go to this particular map that you deploy the solution. You would open that web map. For, in this case, the park asset inventory map is what feeds this application. And then you would just switch out the base map with your own content. So absolutely, I think that's a big point or a big way a lot of people will, whether they're adding to their existing asset inventory or they want to create that, whether that's from plans and documents coming in or adding their own imagery and other components, for sure. We do expect a lot of people will use that.
Yeah, and Matt, the other pattern would be for a trail, as an example, you could actually go in the field and stream that trail as you're walking it.
Absolutely.
That would be another way to capture with a little more accuracy, most likely, the trail itself. Yep.
Yep. And so like if I wanted to go in and as Chris was saying, so I'm back in ArcGIS field maps, and I've opened up my park field map. And if I want to say I wanted to collect this trail, but I'm in, whether that's, we've seen folks that are on a bike or like a mountain bike, and they're out doing because it's like a mountain biking trail, or it's just kind of out, and they didn't have a motorized vehicle on it, or you could be in a motor vehicle. But essentially you would just click this kind of the options button here, and you would start your streaming. And so there are settings within field maps you can set, like how often. So whether that's every X distance, so every 30 feet, 10 feet, or every X seconds or minutes, you could be collecting a vertex on there and really, I think from roads, even barriers, like barriers meaning like fencing and walls, you probably would do some type of streaming like that as well. So all the linear features, so we have barriers, roads, and trails in particular, that would be really effective, the streaming collection.
And I guess the one thing I would add, Matt, is that there's kind of 3 different ways that you can work with assets in the system. You can load all your content in, which is probably what you're going to do if you already have an asset management collection or inventory. That's the first step. And then you can augment that by collecting new assets and adding to the inventory through the desktop or the field workflow. So that's kind of the 3 different patterns there. And you can load in existing content too, even after the fact, if you needed to update the existing inventory too.
Absolutely. Yep. And so, and we recommend, there's a couple different ways in ArcGIS for loading data. We do have that in that help topic that I showed, that for the configuration, you can just load it right in within ArcGIS Online. You can just go right to the feature layer and append data in. That's very fast and straightforward. But you can also load up ArcGIS Pro and use the append tool, load your existing assets in there. We definitely see that as kind of, I glossed over that, or I kind of skipped ahead into we're collecting assets now, but that is definitely something that upfront we expect most of the users to be aggregating and loading data into it. Yeah. All right, were there any other questions?
No, looks like we're good.
Cool. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share this back up.
All right. Well, thanks, Matt. That was just a quick demonstration of the capabilities included with Park Infrastructure Management. This solution will help you streamline park asset inventories, understand asset condition, and improve overall organizational performance. So thanks for listening. and we always want your feedback. So if you could take a few minutes to fill out a quick survey to let us know how it went, that'd be great. And we'll also post a link to the survey in the chat in case you can't grab it real quick off the screen. And thanks for joining. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. I'm also going to put in the chat right now a link to the new release. So just yesterday, we had a pretty substantial release of ArcGIS solutions, which includes the park infrastructure management you just saw today. But this concludes today's meetup. We know your time is valuable and we appreciate you joining us today. This is the last meetup for 2021, and we'll be announcing our meetup schedule for 2022 after the holidays. Thanks for attending today and have a wonderful day. Bye.